Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on Orange Klik. And today we'll be talking about how to double your Amazon conversions using virtual hypnosis together with Chris. But before we introduce Chris, please don't forget to subscribe to the Orange Klik YouTube channel and make sure you get notifications when we go with new videos. So our guest today is Chris. Hello, Chris.
What's going on, Augustus? Good to see you again, buddy.
Today we'll be talking about something which is very useful for Amazon sellers. And before we go into the content, could you, Chris, introduce yourself? Some people know you, some people maybe see you for the first time. So could you please tell us what's your background and what do you do?
Yeah, sure. So I actually, before I was in business or Amazon at all, I was in the sciences. I got a degree in physics and was doing electrical engineering when then I had the realization, like many of you probably did, where I realized if I didn't learn business, I would never control my own destiny. And I'm sure a lot of you guys who are watching this right now have had the exact same realization where you're like, oh, I guess I'm just going to have to keep doing whatever jobs come my way or get sat on my table, in my case, engineering projects, until I learn business. And in my industry, which was solar at the time, I saw the people who were charting the path of the industry in their own lives were the developers, the people who put the deal together, the business guys. So that was the beginning of my entrance into the business world. And I ended up starting an e-commerce brand that I grew to 7 figures within 18 months. And that was it was easier, I would say, at that time. That was 2015. And you could literally just do like one big promotion one day and like rank page 1 in a single day. So it was a different game, and things have gotten much more sophisticated since then. But I was able to use that early win to propel me into a lot of different ventures. I started a crypto fund, one of the first crypto funds that raised $4.5 million from crypto investors. I started a software company called Judo Launch and raised millions of dollars for that and grew that to a 40-person company, helping Amazon sellers launch in foreign markets and optimize their listings and manage their accounts. And then I experienced a brutal just slap in the face by life, or punch in the face by life, when my primary company, Judo Launch, was taken over by a predatory investor. And I lost. I got completely booted out. The name changed. A bunch of my employees, went over there, and I had to basically start from scratch. And a real like Rocky type story. Like I had to like make a comeback. And yeah, so experienced being a rising star, experienced getting slapped down hard, and experienced the comeback as well. So now I have partnered with 7, 8, and 9-figure brands in specific industries to help them succeed on Amazon. And I also run Sophie Society, which creates listing content to increase the conversion rate of listings and does PPC management and fuses those two things together, the conversion rate of listings and the traffic that goes to listings. So right now, what we're going to talk about today is all about increasing the conversion of listings and how we do that. And before I just cut this intro off and get into it and share my screen here, I'll say the reason that we know this is we've actually worked on thousands of listings, and I've overseen over 2,000 product launches on Amazon. And the good thing about me wasting all that time in the sciences before I started to learn business is that we take a very scientific approach to all this, and we view Amazon as a laboratory. We have theses and hypotheses. We test them out on our own brands first, our own internal brands. And then if they work, we start applying them and offering those principles of conversion increase through listing optimization and other strategies to sellers like you guys. So I'm going to be presenting a really rare look at a company who sees thousands of listings flowing through it and has optimized the content, the text content, the visual content, the A+ content, the video, the photo, everything down to just the wording on the questions, everything, and A/B tested everything And I'll show you how we track the data. We track the data on every single listing that we do. And this presentation is the distillation of the basic principles that come from that data first approach. So all of these things aren't something that you could learn by reading like an SEO blog article on Amazon FBA. These are things that you can only find out from testing live.
Great. So I just wanted to mention that Chris is probably one of the smartest entrepreneurs in this industry. I did with him, with you, first webinar probably 4 years ago, and since then I enjoyed chatting with you. And also those who are watching, don't forget to check other video with Chris we did about EBC. He shared the formula and he promised to share with us a new version of that video, but check that video later after watching this at the bottom, and probably will find at the top later the link to this video. It's quite popular, so if it's popular, so maybe it's really good content. So now we're ready to see your screen and to go deep into what you want to share. So we see your screen, I think. Yeah, we see it.
Solid.
Perfect.
All right, let's rock and roll then. So we're talking about using the concept of visual hypnosis to increase conversion rate and potentially double or more your conversion rate if you follow all these principles that I'm going to walk through here. And I got a couple examples as well. So I already introduced you guys to me. A little bit on a personal note, I am obsessed with freedom. Maybe it's because I'm American. Maybe it's just in my blood. But that was the reason that I started my first brand in the first place. I think that's something that's common amongst a lot of entrepreneurs and probably a lot of you. I run all of my companies completely remotely and allow my employees to work from wherever they want. And I work from wherever I want, as you can see. Like, I'm working here in the middle of a field, and I do this a lot. But the reason that I do what I do is to help other people achieve the same thing and achieve that freedom. And that's actually the most fulfilling part of what I do and really what drives me. And so I want that for all of you guys. So as we go through this, try to remove distractions. Just turn your phone off, shut down all of the other Chrome browsers, and really pay attention, because I'm going to go pretty rapid fire through this. I'm not going to add fluff in here. We're going to go rapid fire and then get to the questions so that people can clarify whatever they want to clarify. But yeah, make sure you're completely focused. I'm focused on providing you guys value. Focus on receiving it now. All you have to do is receive it. So here's a couple examples. I'll show more later of listings that we've worked on at Sophie Society using our principles and the conversion rate difference. Like I said, we measure everything. I'm going to show you our actual sheet that we use to measure every single listing that comes through Sophie Society that we work on. This was one that we just, this listing did not have EBC at all to start with, and then we uploaded it. It went from 11 to 17. This listing, we did EBC and a couple other copy elements on it, went from 12% conversion to 27% conversion. This listing went from 7% conversion, which is quite bad on Amazon. But in a space like this, it's not as bad as you think. Different categories have different average conversion rate. So it went from 7% to 19% conversion from the principles that I'm about to describe to you guys. So this is all completely data-focused information. So if some of it seems counterintuitive, or maybe it seems basic to you, or whatever blocking, objecting thoughts that you have, know that everything that I'm about to go through is based in pure data. We do everything based on data. I run my businesses on data. I make every employee of my businesses focus on the data and the results and the key performance indicators that show whether they're succeeding or not. This is all data. So with that said, like I said, when I started my first business in 2015, my first e-commerce business, I'd started many businesses before that, most of which had failed. Went through a lot of failures, but we can get into that another day. The way that succeeding on Amazon, the formula for succeeding on Amazon has changed really significantly since then. You didn't need to really have sophisticated strategy for how to craft the content of your listing. A lot of listings were like just keyword stuffed with as many keywords as possible. You could do big promotions and get ranked #1 in just a single day. Now it's very, very different. And it's different, obviously, from 5 years ago, 6 years ago, but it's also different from just a year and a half ago, 12 to 18 months ago. A lot has changed in this time. And there's a lot of trends that you can see in the way in which Amazon is going, the direction that they're going. And I'm going to show you guys some of them. But the key here, and what we're speaking about here, and we could talk about every aspect of a listing, from the way that you research keywords to the way you drive traffic to it, to making sure that traffic is the most quality traffic. There's a lot of things that influence conversion rate besides the things that we're talking about here. But this particular point is about using subconscious programming techniques to get your listings to convert better. And we're going to dig into what actually happens when somebody views a listing and how they process it in their mind, and how to guide that in the proper way through the fusion of how you craft your text and your copy and how you craft your visuals. So the things we're going to go over can bring a dead product back to life. It's a myth that once a product has lost rank or is converting badly and isn't selling well anymore, that used to sell well, it's a myth that you can't bring it back. You can bring dead products back to life. So if you have products that aren't converting well anymore and you've tried everything, this is something to try on them. And we've had tons of companies come to us for this reason, just to bring a dead product back to life, or an underperforming product. It doesn't have to be totally dead. It can give you a big ROI on money reinvested into your business. So if you're making profits and you're wondering where to put them, should I try to go into retail? Should I try to start Facebook ads? Where should I put my money to make it grow my business the fastest? Actually, one of the biggest ways and the best ROI you can get on profits from the business is investing back into conversion rate. There's an old saying in business of do more of what works. When you're selling a lot, instead of going into the unknown, which you should do some of that too, but most of your resources should go into getting more results out of what you already know works. And then all of these strategies also, people get really obsessed with PPC. I don't know why. In the Amazon world, it's really important. And like I said, we're a PPC shop, but we fuse PPC with the concept of getting that data and allowing it to provide insights for listing content, and then the other way around as well. So that's a reason that we do both. You can't have one without the other. You really cannot separate the two. What the content and the conversion of the listing affects PPC, and your PPC affects the content and the conversion of the listing. That's why we do both. But these tactics will make every dollar you spend on PPC generate a greater return from you. So we've had companies that spend on a whole listing upgrade and it pays for itself within 8 to 15 days. Now, it doesn't always do that, but that's a common occurrence. There's a really high ROI to spending time on this. And I'm going to show you guys how to do it yourself. So you're going to learn all the principles here. This is just a little analogy I like to use. Your listing is like a race car. You can keep dumping more traffic to a car that's underperforming, and yeah, it'll make it go faster. That's like fueling up with nitrous every time you fuel up your race car. Or you could take out that rusty old engine and put in a new engine, and then you don't have to use nitrous. It's permanently converting better. So upgrading your listing is a permanent upgrade. You do it once, you pay for it, or you invest the time into doing it yourself once, and it permanently increases your sales from that point forward forever. Whereas traffic, finding new traffic sources from Facebook, PPC, external advertising, cross promotions, that increases your sales while the promo is happening or while you're adding more traffic. And then as soon as that stops, the more sales stop. So the conversion should always be the primary focus, because it's a permanent change. It's like a permanent upgrade to the engine. So let's get into it. So why the word hypnosis? It's kind of like a mysterious, spooky word, which is why I put this image here of this girl getting hypnotized. But all it really means is speaking directly to the subconscious. The subconscious of a human mind is what actually determines the decisions that they make, and the emotions that they feel determine the decisions they make, not the conscious mind. The way it happens, and this is what most people don't realize when they're writing listings, you decide that you like or want the product, and then your conscious mind makes up reasons why or finds evidence why. This is why starting with features is the wrong way to go. and features should only come after benefits and use cases, because you have to first make them want it emotionally on a subconscious level, and then allow them to rationalize why with the features, so that they can have a reason in their head. But in reality, they want it before they even have those reasons. And if you observe yourself in the way you make decisions about products, you'll see this in your own head. If you really deconstruct when you're shopping for things like, oh, why did I buy that? How did that really go? Oh, well, first I saw the pictures and then I got excited and I got this feeling. And then I wanted to learn more about it. And then I started finding the features. And then I realized how that would be used in my life. And then I bought it. But really, once you got that feeling, that's what inspired you to want to find evidence that would allow you to rationalize the fact that you bought it. So it's the reverse of what most people think. And I'm going to show you guys how to apply this practically. A quick note: when you're applying these changes, measure everything. Every change you make, you should measure it. And the way to do this is to track your sales daily. This is one of the things that I teach as a mentor in the Titan Network, which is a mastermind for Amazon sellers. We teach all of our members to measure daily all of the main metrics of each of their ASINs. And that sounds like a heavy task. It's actually really not. This is something that a VA can do in 15 minutes if you're talking about like 5 ASINs. You should be measuring, obviously daily, you should be measuring the sales, the units sold, the promoted units that came out as rebates or discounted units. That's very important. Then the organic sales, then the PPC sales, then the number of reviews that came in, the conversion rate, and a couple other key metrics. Clicks, it's really important when it comes to all of the major ad metrics. And measure that at least weekly. You should have a daily sales tracker, which is exactly what we teach in Titan, in the Titan Mastermind. But at least measure this stuff weekly. You have to be measuring it, because if you're not, then you don't know what changes affected your listing. You don't know, what was it that my conversion rate is better, but I don't really know why. Is it because I sent different types of traffic to the listing that were actually more relevant to the listing? Is it because I changed the product image? When did I do that? I can't remember. You should be, every time you make a change, log it in wherever you track your data as a note that says, this is the day that we uploaded the new primary image. This is the day that we uploaded the new A+ content. And then you'll know what effect it actually has. So this is a zoomed out view of how we track listings that we work on. It's a little old school, but we use a simple spreadsheet that measures a ton of data points on everything. And this is both for our internal brands and also for brands that we create content for or manage ads for. We measure everything before and after. So we're not going to measure all of their daily stats forever for them. That would literally be its own service. We're doing this before and after the change to measure the difference in that change, so that we know what strategy is working and how much of a difference people can expect to see from certain listing upgrades, whether they're upgrading their A+ content, they're uploading their images, they're upgrading their content. So we know how did this change affect the amount of traffic that came to the listing? How did this change affect the conversion rates of the listing? We know that for every single job we do. And you should be this data focused and this data obsessed as well. So here's the first way to speak directly to the subconscious. And some of you might be familiar with this if you've seen some of my other content about the formula to use for EBC and A+ content. But this is a very powerful way to speak to the subconscious mind and the emotional mind, and that is to use storytelling. Storytelling is baked into our DNA, because for most of human history, it's how information was passed from person to person and from generation to generation. So, for hundreds of thousands of years, cavemen were sitting around campfires telling stories to one another. And that's happened for so long that it's baked into our DNA and it's baked into our psychology. That's why you tend to remember the details of a biography more than you do the details of a how-to book, because the biography is told in the form of a story. So most listings don't tell any kind of story. And this doesn't just have to be like the epic story of the founding of the brand, or anything in particular. It just has to be a story. It could be a story of how you chose the cause that you support, that's related to your customer avatar. And I'll show you guys an example of that in particular. It could be a story of how a customer used your product, or in theory would use your product to solve a problem that they had that they couldn't overcome. Or it could be your founding story. Just think of a story. Start thinking in stories. This is something that Russell Brunson talks about a lot. And if you read the book, not Traffic Secrets, one of those secrets books, you'll see that he focuses on stories, and also himself is always communicating through stories. So this is a very, very powerful way to have an emotional impact on the people who view the listing. And where does it go? One, it should be woven throughout the listing, through the entire listing. And this is part of the concept that we're talking about today, is making sure that the whole listing has a one consistent, fluid narrative throughout the entire thing. And the way to make sure that that happens is to identify who your customer avatar is. And I'm going to tell you guys how to do that a little bit further down in this presentation. Using stories allows you to differentiate from the sellers competing on price, giving a value to the brand, not just the product. This is a key insight. If you guys are going to take notes on this, I've made these key insight slides so you could take these notes down. This is key. You know what products are not going to have a story? Something that's coming straight out of a factory in Shenzhen and being listed on Amazon.com. Over half of the market now of the Amazon.com market is Chinese direct factories selling directly on Amazon.com. So competing with them on price, never going to work. Never going to compete directly on price with the factory selling directly from Shenzhen, if you are essentially the middleman. So you have to give a value to something that's beyond the product, that transcends the product, and that is the brand. And there are a lot of ways to do this. So the story, the easiest way to show the story is in the EBC. You guys can dig into the EBC video that Augustus mentioned earlier in this presentation. It's on YouTube, but that you should dedicate, if you can, an entire module to a story, whatever that story is that you're going to tell about how the product changed someone's life, or how you saw an issue and you developed this product. And believe me, even the most boring products can have stories. There is always a story to be told about this product. And every company that comes through Sophie Society to get listing content done, we pull a story out of them and help co-create it. It's always, always possible. So the other element to this, and this is where it gets you zoom way in on how a customer's psychology changes throughout experiencing a listing. You also can allow the customer to tell their own story about how, in their own head, about how the product will fit into their life, by allowing everything in the listing to speak to one customer avatar. And that ability to have everything, every visual component, every text component, is speaking that avatar's language, the way they talk, using their words. And you can find out what words they use by looking at your reviews. That's a great way to do it. Using images that look like them. So if you're selling to a family, you're going to have images of the family. You're going to have, if you're selling to young moms and dads, you're going to show young moms and dads on the listing with their little kids. And if you're selling to old women, everything from the hand that's holding the product in the lifestyle image to the video to the EBC has older women as the avatars that are being shown using the products. This is so key. And this is part of this subconscious programming, because if you're selling to an audience that's mostly older women and all of your images are young, cute girls, then there's going to be a disconnect in that person's head. And the women who are actually your ideal customer avatars are going to think to themselves, they don't get me. This company doesn't quite get me. there's a disconnect between the people that use this product and me, and they're not thinking this consciously. It's a subconscious thought. They don't feel like you're their people, or this product is for their type of people or them. So everything has to allow them to tell their own story in their head about how they're going to use the product to improve their lives. And again, this is something that doesn't happen consciously. It happens completely subconsciously, which sounds a little woo-woo and a little crazy. But like I said, I have a degree in physics. I'm the most rational person ever. The only reason that I'm teaching this stuff is because it's actually true and the data supports it. So allow the shoppers to craft their own story in their head. They should be able to visualize the product in their life. This isn't just about using the same customer avatar in all the photos. It's also about the use cases. So the images should show the product in use. And this is a really important factor. A lot of sellers want to start with features and then go into benefits and maybe use cases, maybe not even. The way to do it is not to start with features. You should start with the benefits and the use cases before the features, because those are the things that allow the shopper to tell a story about how the product will be used in their life. So if the product can be used to help you set up a tent, or it can be used to help you cut open a box, and you know from your own customer avatar research that there are 5 major ways that your product is used, or major settings that it's used, or problems that it solves, then you should focus on those and focus on them very early on. In like the second or third image, you should show these use cases, because that's how the narrative begins to play out in the shopper's head. And it should be not just in the EBC, it should also be in the bullet points. So don't spend all the bullet points. The old way to view the bullet points was benefit, feature, feature, benefit, feature, benefit, feature, benefit, or benefit, feature, benefit, feature. And then, of course, tons of keyword stuffing. The way to do it is to focus on first building that narrative by those use cases and speaking to the customer avatar and using their own language in your listing. This all begins to program their subconscious mind to think, yes, this is right. This feels right. This feels good. It feels like they get me. It feels like a product that I want to buy. So here's another insight. And let me see, I think I have it written down. Yeah. Okay. So here's an insight. You guys can write this down if you want. You should allow the customer to tell their own story in their head of integrating the product into their own lives. You do this through use case images and lifestyle images that match your customer avatar. Again, everything that I'm saying here is completely data driven. We created these hypotheses and tested them. So this is true because the data says it's true, not because I say it's true. So remember that when you're crafting your listing. Now, here's another key insight, and this is yet another way to speak directly to the subconscious mind and completely bypass the conscious mind. And that is this: people, human beings, and human faces particularly have to be included in the EBC and also the listing in general. That not just the EBC, but this is just the easiest way to deliver it. The EBC and the visual design of the listing. Whatever product you're selling, a person is using it. Now, there have actually been studies on this, and there's one particular study that was really credible. The studies were not looking at Amazon listings; they were looking at websites. But it was studying how likely a visitor to a website is to take an action, whether it be purchase or submit a form or subscribe or whatever, based on the website having human faces or not having human faces. And it was literally just any human faces, not even like pictures of the founding team or anything like that, just any human faces at all. And it was a dramatic difference in conversion when there were human faces on the website. Human faces inspire trust. They communicate emotion and feeling in an instant. And they also tell the shopper if they are the right type of person for this product. So obviously you're going to have kids and moms on a product for kids. You are going to be showing the faces of the avatars, but it's not even just about that. You're going to be you showing a human face inspires an emotion without the person controlling it. When you see a face, it inspires an emotion in you without you even choosing to do that. So you're really taking over their minds when you show human faces. It's extremely, extremely powerful. So how do you determine who your customer avatar is? Everything in your listing should be speaking directly to your customer avatar. And trust me, guys, this exercise of determining your customer avatar, it's going to help you not just with crafting your listing, but also with everything else in your business. It's going to help you with targeting when you're doing external advertising. It's going to help you make relationships with influencers and other people with audiences who could sell your product for you through co-branding deals or affiliate deals. It's going to help you with even hiring. And it helps you with writing all of the content that you write on every platform and any content that you decide to start distributing in the future when you're really scaling and building an empire through your newsletter, your blog, if you start a podcast, whatever. This becomes really the cornerstone of your entire business. When I was in Silicon Valley raising 22X fund, the crypto fund that I co-founded, I realized that Silicon Valley is obsessed with this, and rightfully so, because they get that once you understand your customer avatar, you can basically sell them anything. And so this is going to help you not just with the visual hypnosis and with the listing copy, but it's going to help you scale your business infinitely beyond this. And if you do this right, the shopper is going to think, they get me. These guys get me. This company gets me. This product is for me. So that's how you know if you're doing it right. People, your ideal customer avatar visits and they think they get me. The way to define your customer avatar is you should go through an exercise where you dig into everything about not just what's their age, what's their gender, where do they live, but what other influencers do they follow? What news outlets do they read? What media do they consume? What other types of products do they take part in? What shows do they watch? Everything you can possibly think about this person. And I know mid 8-figure sellers that obsess over this, especially because some of them are getting into buying brands to add to their brands and growing into 9-figure businesses. And this is one of their primary obsessions, is obsessing over the customer avatar. They'll give the customer avatar a name. They'll pretend to have fake conversations with them. This is a very high level activity. Like I said, 8 and 9-figure seller type of activity that's going to carry you through not just your listing copy, but everything else in your business. We went over this. Remember, features do not speak to the subconscious mind. The features are only the conscious mind's ability to rationalize why they want it, but they already wanted it before you even get to the features. So do not start with features. They should not be covered first. Cover them only after the benefits and use cases. And as much as possible, you should show the features, not write or tell the features. You should show the features through the use cases and the lifestyle images. That should display the features as because that's where you're hitting 2 birds with 1 stone. You're speaking to both the subconscious mind and the conscious mind at the same time. And that's some serious ninja shit. Remember when you're crafting a listing that people consume listings way differently or way counterintuitively. They don't view a listing from the top to the bottom, the way it's crafted. They actually, and I used to literally watch people shopping on Amazon just to understand the dynamics of how people's minds work. I got weird and obsessed with this. I actually would just creepily watch people shopping on Amazon. People first scan the top of the listing briefly. They see the first image. They might click on a couple images. They browse through, scan through the bullet points. They don't read the bullet points. They scan the bullet points. And then they scroll past everything on the listing all the way down to the bottom where the reviews are. And they check out the reviews. And if they're bad reviews or they turn them off in some way, they click off the listing. If the reviews are acceptable to them, then they'll scroll back up and want to learn more about the product and give you an actual chance. And that's when you have this golden window to sell them. And the interesting thing about this is, since they're scrolling from the bottom up, once they've committed to actually learning more about the product and have stopped scanning and started actually reading and checking it out, they are now at your enhanced brand content. And this is on a desktop. The order is actually switched around on mobile. And you'll notice on mobile, actually, descriptions still appear. So people who upload EBC and then they forget about their description because it doesn't appear on desktop, guess what? It appears on mobile. On mobile, you see both. So do not get rid of your description once you upload EBC, because it actually doesn't replace, EBC doesn't replace your description on mobile. But people are viewing it from the bottom up. And so therefore, your EBC is a great opportunity for you to tell this visual story and to show these human faces and show the use cases and get extremely visual and allow them to dig into the product. And this is why visuals are so important, because since people are going from the bottom up, something needs to stop them from scrolling. Listings have so much trash on them now. There's customers who bought this, also bought, frequently bought together, sponsored products related to this product in 2 separate sections. There's the comparison table that Amazon adds in. Now on some accounts, they're adding that little storefront area. There are separate ads that are running. The listing is just full of junk. You need to be able to stop them from scrolling with big, striking, emotional images. And if you don't have that, that is one of the low-hanging fruit that you can quickly implement to change the conversion rate of your listing, sometimes dramatically. So here's a key insight that you guys can write down. People don't view listings from top to bottom. They scan the top, scroll all the way back down to the bottom, then scroll back up from the bottom. Therefore, they end up spending a lot of time on the A+ content, which is why it's so important. Now, here's another interesting fact. And that is, like I said, I've been in the Amazon game a long time. I've been able to see the trends as Amazon changed. When I started selling on Amazon, PPC had just come out and you weren't allowed to spend more than $10 a day. Can you imagine that on campaigns? So look how far it's come. Now Amazon, I think, is like 5 or 6% of all advertising online. And it used to be like all Google and Facebook in the States, that is. Now Amazon is spending more and more time on engagement. And you see this with a lot of the trends that have occurred over the past year. The posts, the Amazon Live video, the additions and new modules for EBC. You even see it in, as you can see down here, I wrote Launchpad already allows more interactivity in the enhanced brand content. So if you go through the Amazon Launchpad program, which is the program that's meant for sellers that would go through like Kickstarter, they're basically like new inventions. They usually get access to Launchpad. You get access to new modules of EBC that Amazon is just beta testing on them, but will likely roll out to everybody. That includes more interactivity. It's like points that you can hover over that like make little pop-ups and things like that. That allow the customer to interact more. There's, of course, the voting of the questions. Amazon wants more interactivity. They don't want the information flow to just be one way to the shopper. They want it to be two-way. So keep this in mind. Engagement and time on listing is something that it matters to Amazon, which should tell you that it's something that you should focus on. And there's a lot of evidence showing that engagement metrics and time on site metrics affect your ranking, and actually more and more significantly. So one of the most common and well-used ways that, and we do it all the time, to increase ranking is to increase sales velocity, and particularly find ways to increase sales velocity to the search term that you want to increase the ranking for and make sure that people that search for that term then buy your product, right? So that's called the search, find, buy method. Most sellers know this. A lot of sellers don't know that different engagement metrics also can improve ranking. And there have actually been a lot of black hat services that have come out in the last 2 years that, for instance, will get you a bunch of add to carts or add to wish lists. But this is not something I would recommend. Obviously, this is black hat and it's like Pakistani click farms, things like that. But it would have a dramatic impact on ranking because it's interactivity. And more interactive components are going to be taken into account in Amazon's A9 ranking algorithm. So again, just yet another reason why to rope customers in and really engage them through storytelling, self-storytelling, customer avatar, human faces, all of this stuff that we're talking about. So here's a key insight. You guys can write this down. More and more evidence is leading towards the truth that Amazon is prioritizing page engagement. A+ content is one of the best ways to increase page engagement. And even you guys, by the way, you don't have to be in Launchpad to get interactive content. There is one module that is interactive. It's the hover over module. Now, we used to use this in our formula, but we stopped using it because they changed the format of the hover over module for A+ content. And now it just provides a ton of blank space and it's awkward and it's weird. So we stopped using it. But you can see already that they've rolled that even normal sellers can add interactive components to their EBC and to their listing. The hover over modules where you hover over a little thumbnail and it would blow it up. Here's some more examples. I told you guys I would show some more examples. And again, we have literally thousands of these, but here's just a couple that I'm showing. These medical bags went from 12 to 27%. The bike pump, oh, these are the ones I showed you before. It's 7 to 19. But then we have the nipple covers just from listing content. Copy upgrades went from 6 to 14. And these are all real metrics that are just straight from Amazon seller reports. Chicken roaster went from 47 to 55. So I put one in there that started high so that you guys can know you can start low and go up, but it's not just like saving dead listings. This also works for listings that are already doing really well. These barbecue gloves went from 8 to 13%. So we have some in the middle that went from 12 to 27, some that were on the really low end going from 6 to 14, and some that were already doing really well, like going from 47% to 55%. It works no matter where you are on the chain. Now, real quick, I just want to give you guys a formula. I'm not going to go through each and every one of these. If you want to dig into how to create great A+ content, you can watch the video that Augustus mentioned. It's on YouTube. You can just search Orange Klik EBC or Orange Klik A+. But the formula is this: start with the logo, then go to the logo, and then the hero image is a huge attention-grabbing image. Should have human faces or people in it if possible. Benefits graphic and story is next. That's a 4-panel. Then features icons. This is where the features are shown, and it's shown in icons, not in actual real-life images. This is really, really important and a really powerful way to communicate ideas without words. Again, we're talking how to use subconscious programming here. Then the next element is the banner with X factors. So, and again, even if your product, you think it's kind of boring, trust me, it has X factors. There's that, I always forget what company it was. There's that story, I don't know if it was Coors or Budweiser, but it was a beer company that created an entire campaign all around how they used fresh spring water to brew their beer. Well, guess what? Every beer company uses fresh spring water to brew their beer. That wasn't unique to them, but they focused on that and they really sold that as an X factor, even though it was just a normal thing. You can always use creativity to come up with X factors. Then after that is the banner. This is a custom graphic that you use, that you upload for a full banner that has some kind of breakdown of either the inclusions or a breakout of the product's parts or the step 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3, 4 instructions. That's that section. Then the next section should be a full banner story. This is optional because you can include the story in section 3. And then finally, perhaps the most important section after the story is the comparison table, where you cross-sell your other products. And this is a really powerful way to allow you to get more real estate on your own listing, on your own listing with a bunch of other listings displaying on it, with Amazon trying to get people to click off, the comparison table allows you to get people to click off of this listing onto your other listings. Very powerful. So I tried to squeeze as much data as I possibly could and as many insights as I possibly could into this presentation, but here are the principles in sum. Features speak to the conscious logical mind, not the subconscious mind. Do not start with them. The story connects to the subconscious mind and the emotional mind. That's the amygdala versus the frontal lobe where the conscious mind sits. Benefits bridge the gap between the conscious and the subconscious, allowing people to understand why they should use it in their life. Human faces subconsciously invoke feelings. Always include them on your listing, no matter what product you create. Use cases allow the customer to tell their own story in their head that add color to the narrative. And then you should connect your text and your visual content into one narrative that speaks to the same customer avatar throughout the listing, from the visuals to the title, to the bullets, to the EBC, to the description. So that is it, guys. I crammed in as much as we possibly could. We can take questions now, Augustus, or we can show them the page that we put together for them. What do you want to do next?
Yes, we can take questions after showing the page. So
Cool.
you would like to show the page to them?
Yeah.
Everyone watching now, watching later, whatever time you watch, you'll find this link below in the description, and you can click, and there Chris put all the offer which you can take and use their service to improve your Amazon product listings. So are you ready? Do you want to show the page on your computer?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll show it to them real quick. So
yeah. So while Chris is loading, let's see. Okay, here it is.
Yeah, so Augustus and I partnered up for you guys to be able to provide this. For those of you that want to do it yourself, go right ahead. Use those principles. I hope you took good notes. For those of you that want to accelerate the increase in conversion and the increase in traffic to your listing, we put together this page so you can use our own people to make it happen. And you can see that we put together a listing copy package. There's A+ design in and of itself. You could see examples here. There's product photography, and this comes with all of the images, the benefits images, the features images, the use case images, everything. And then there are bundles, and you save by getting multiple of these packages together. And we put this together for you guys because this literally is the best content that most impacts the conversion rate and the traffic. Like I said, we've done this for a long time, and I've overseen thousands and thousands of product launches and listing optimizations on Amazon. So we're really good at what we do, which is why we put together this page for you guys that want to accelerate this process and get an ROI on money that you want to spend to grow your business. You can even see on this page tons of people who have gotten listing upgrades. It just goes on and on. This is just screenshots from people just saying thank you and talking about how much their listing benefited and their conversion increased from all of the content that they got. And you guys can scroll through this. I'm not going to read all of this to you, but it literally just goes on and on and on because, we do everything from first principles.
People were really happy about your content, and some people even referred to your previous video about EBC. Someone from India says that they implemented your A+ formula. Again, those who didn't check the other video with Chris, check the link below. And we will be recording also another video about this soon. So you will find at some point both links there or the most up-to-date information. What else? So we do have some questions. There was an interesting question of a person saying that he's doing only PPC and no EBC. What do you think? Does he have any hopes?
I would not focus on PPC before you've focused as much effort as you possibly can to listing content. If you don't have EBC because you're not brand registered, then that's one thing. That's an issue that you can tackle. And you can just do as much as you can to the listing before you're able to get EBC uploaded. And there are ways to accelerate, by the way, your brand registry if it's going slowly. You can now apply with just a trademark application, and you don't have to wait for the trademark to actually pass. So you used to have to wait like 12, 15 months to get brand registry. Now you can accelerate it. You can get it in just weeks. So remember that. If that's your blocker, a lot of people don't know that. You can do that. Just apply for your trademark. You can get someone on Fiverr to apply for the trademark for you. Go through the trademark application process to get your brand registry, and then you'll be able to do EBC. But I would definitely optimize your listing as much as possible before you focus any energy on PPC. So many people go straight to the PPC, and you're not alone on this. This is, I would say, at least half or more of sellers, because it's so quick. It's kind of like crack. Like, you start PPC and you get more sales like immediately, right? So it like feels good. But the problem is, it's like, just like drugs, it causes destruction down the line, because even if you're spending a lot on PPC and getting a lot of sales, it's still going to negatively affect your organic ranking long term if you don't have good conversion. So you might rank from driving a bunch of sales, and then your conversion just your ranking just drops back down because your conversion is too low. So first, handle your listings, then move on to optimizing your PPC, not the other way around.
Great. Eagle and Cycling said that he just started Amazon business last spring, and it looks like it's not working for him. Barely selling. Clearly, he chose a wrong product. So he's asking if it's a normal to fail at the first product. And later we found out in the comments that he's not giving up. He will want to release a second product.
Nice, dude. Yeah, good for you, man. It's totally fine that you failed in the first product, and that does happen a lot. Most people give up at that point, and this is what separates the wheat from the chaff and the winners from the losers, is that you just try again and you learn from the mistakes. Like I said, I experienced an epic failure with one of the biggest companies I was running, and bounced right back from it because I knew that I would not let that failure become my reality. I knew that I could create my own reality by starting again. So good for you for even being vulnerable enough to share this, by the way. That's part of it too. Reaching out for help, reaching out for guidance. You definitely have a shot. Amazon is a huge opportunity still. You may have gone into a saturated space. It's okay to go into saturated spaces, by the way, but only if you have a way to play it, some kind of X factor. And obviously, the more niche you go, the more like particular and lower volume keyword the product is, the less competition there's going to be there. And so that might be a route for you to go a little bit niche down, but do not give up. Try again. The Amazon is only going up. There's only more people shopping on Amazon every year. It's still an excellent opportunity.
And one more time, I would like to remind that in the description, you will find the link, orangeclick.sophiesociety.com, where you will find offer from Chris. At the beginning of the presentation, you talked about knowing your numbers and tracking the changes. So what do you suggest?
Yeah, there's a lot of tools out there, but I'm actually a proponent of manually tracking this. That's not a very popular opinion, but it's actually what we teach inside the Titan network as well. And Titan has its own, total suite of tools, but we still teach to do this manually via a spreadsheet because of the fact that you can update it at any time. You can create graphs out of different parts of it very easily in Google Sheets now. Google Sheets is so robust. And you also have to manually input some things anyway. Like, for instance, the number of rebated units that went out. That's something that you'd have to manually input. So I recommend just doing it in Google Sheets and setting up simple daily sales tracker that tracks the sales, tracks all the metrics each and every day. And the great thing about that is that it's free. People forget you can buy the time of the greatest supercomputer in the known universe for $4 an hour or $5 an hour. And that's because the greatest supercomputer in the universe is the human brain. It is the most adaptable computer ever. So people get obsessed with software tools and stuff like that. But guess what? A VA is like $4 an hour, and it only takes them 15 minutes to fill in a daily sales tracker. So don't overcomplicate it.
Great answer. And one person just said EBC shown on mobile. I asked to clarify, but I didn't get any response. But
I think he's referring to the fact that I was saying that the description is shown on mobile. Yeah, so both are shown. I should have clarified that. I wasn't saying that the description replaces the EBC. It's just that on mobile, you actually see both the EBC and the description. So, sellers were sometimes discarding the description once they uploaded EBC, because on desktop it replaces the description, but on mobile it actually shows both.
We have a question about building a custom avatar. How to build it when your product applies to a lot of different people? For example, someone who goes fishing, who is a man, woman, young person, old person.
Yeah. That's a really good question. So one thing is you can show multiple different versions of your customer avatar. But the other thing is you can focus on the most probable or the most common. So yeah, who can go fishing? Men, women, children. But who mostly goes fishing? It's mostly 30 to 60-year-old guys. And in addition to that, it's not just about the age and about the gender, but it's also about what they're doing in their context. So showing it in use, like in a lake with a person wearing fishing gear and all of that stuff, is equally as important. But still, even when it comes to the look and the age and the gender and all of that, and the people around them, you should just use the most common, because that's going to allow you to have the highest probability of having the person who's visiting the page be like, yeah, that's for me. Or that's for the person I'm buying this for too, because wives buy for their husbands, wives buy for their kids. It's mostly the women. It's a lot of women shop for the whole family. So they want to know, yeah, that's for my husband. Yeah, that looks like him. That looks like my kids, etc. The best way is for you to just dig in yourself. So my first brand, I did this actually by calling my customers, and then later having my customer support team log data about my customers. But getting to know them, actually like speaking to them, a really great way is just to look at the reviews. That's like an immediate way to do it. You just scroll through the reviews and you start to get a feel for what is the most common type of person to buy this product. In my case, I found out, on not realizing this from the get-go, but I found out that a lot of my customers were older people, and or people were buying it for an older person. And I never thought that these were spinal health products. I never thought that that would be the case. But yeah, it turned out to be that like most of them were over 50. A lot of them were over 60. And so, yeah, I started to change everything about the listing, and then my conversion went up and up and up the more I did that.
Though still I wanted to remind everyone, don't forget to click the like button below this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. So it helps us to create more content when you are active in engaging with our content. And we still have quite a lot of questions. Let me activate the next question. Let's see this one. How do we compete with similar products who have about 5,000 reviews, especially for new sellers who, can have just use the EBC strategy and not much more?
You can compete with sellers who have 5K reviews. That is possible. The way that you do that is, first of all, you should focus on getting as many reviews as you can as fast as possible. Well, not as fast as possible. If your review velocity is too high, you'll actually get flagged by Amazon and nobody will be able to leave a review on the listing. But you should be getting reviews at a healthy rate, and as quickly as you can, compliantly, without setting off any alarms. And the way to do that is through healthy customer follow-up, using product inserts, building a many chat list, building your email list, and then of course just driving sales through PPC, and making sure that you're following up with all the customers to get those reviews, and you have the inserts in there. But that's just the review section. In general, you can compete with sellers like this, with the listing differentiation and product differentiation. Another way to do it also is you just focus on a different niche keyword and try to really dominate that. And you can craft everything about the listing to speak to this more niche keyword. Like for instance, if you're selling turmeric supplements for dogs, and you find out that there's a keyword that's turmeric supplements for dogs chewable, then you're going to focus on that specific keyword if that applies to your product. Or maybe turmeric supplement for dog capsules. I don't know if dogs take capsules, probably not, but something that's more specific, or maybe 60 count or 120 count. And you focus everything about the image, the title, the bullets, the EBC around that niche, then you're going to start ranking higher for that longer tail or mid tail keyword, and beating other sellers that might have more reviews because you are more relevant to them, the people who search that search term.
Okay, we have still a lot of questions, and Diogo wants to know what exactly is listing copy. Maybe very quickly you can just give a difference between listing copy and EBC and whatever.
Yeah, listing copy is just all the text on the listing. It includes the title, the bullet points, the description, and then any of the text in the EBC is also copy. So that's what we mean by listing copy. So listing copy is all the text. Then A+ content, otherwise known as EBC content, is the infographic in the center of the listing. Then, of course, there's the images, there's 9 images that you're allowed to upload, or 7 in a video. And that's it. And then there's the video. And that's all of the content that you can possibly create for a listing.
And talking about images, Tom wants to know what is the difference between use case and lifestyle images?
Yeah, they can overlap. Lifestyle images don't have to be use case. Like you could literally have a woman with her husband laughing, holding the product. That's still considered lifestyle. But use case, when I say use case, a lot of times like you'll cram a lot of use cases together. Like lifestyle is the image in the setting, being used by people or being held or around people, in use near people or by people. But then use cases, a lot of times you're going to rapid fire through a lot of them. So one way that we do this is like a 4-panel image that shows all of the different ways the product can be used. Doesn't necessarily have to have a person involved. If it's like a vaporizer, for instance, that can just sit on a table. It could sit on a desk at work. It could sit in the kitchen. It could sit in the home. So yeah. So you can have an image that's both lifestyle and use case.
For some reason, Matthew would like to expand on one use case, perhaps like you already kind of said now, but let's say, let's take a product or let's say more complicated product, because all the time you said that all the products are used by people. Let's take a dog treat. Let's say it's something for snack for dogs. So what could be a use case example?
Love it. Yeah. So say you're selling an anti-inflammatory supplement for dogs. So you can show that this supplement can be used when dogs are having some kind of pain. You can show that it's used for dogs who have just had some kind of surgery. You can show that it's used for dogs who are getting old. And you do this in a visual way, of course. But these are all ways in which the product is used and applications for the product to be used in, or problems that the product is solving in a different way. So it could be a different setting. It can be a different problem. But they're just different ways in which the product is used. If it's something that goes on the body, for instance, if it was like a fanny pack, you can show it being used with someone while they're running. You can have it shown with somebody who is at a festival. You can have it shown around the waist, around the shoulder. This is yeah, there's tons of ways to creatively craft use case images.
We have good news. Someone also implemented your EBC formula.
Nice.
Once again, you will find the link below in the description. And also, I would like to say, like, if you are, you don't have resources to create your own EBC formula, you can come to Chris' company and they will help you. And check the offer by Chris on this link, orangeclick.sophiesociety.com. Also, you will find it in the description. And we still have more questions. All right.
We got time.
Christine is asking, can you elaborate or give an example on how to build a story into your listing storyboard and EBC number the third benefits graphic?
Yep. The benefits graphics. Yeah, sure. We'll talk about both of those. So the most basic example of a story, and I can even show you guys one. Well, I don't know if it'll take me too long to bring up, but I'll just tell you that the most common story is the founding story, the story of the founder. So there's one company that we worked with for a while, for instance, that it was a Vietnamese American. She'd grown up American, but her heritage was Vietnamese. And she started this coffee brand, Vietnamese coffee. And she told the story about how it related to her Vietnamese heritage. And she had even gone and visited the farms where the beans were grown for the coffee, and had pictures of all that and stuff. And how important it was to her because it was part of her heritage, part of her family, and how much care she put into the development of the product and all of that. And you don't have to have a story like that. You can have a story of you overcoming your own challenges. So the story of you trying out other products that were in the space and not being satisfied with any of them as a mom or as a dad or as a college kid or whatever you are. And then deciding to create one of your own, and then taking a risk and, partnering with a factory to make it in mass production and sell it to people. That's a really compelling story. Every story has to have like this natural arc of some kind of roadblock or issue that you overcame. That's a really important element of the hero's journey of a story. But another example is a story of a cause. So if you're interested in supporting veterans or pregnant moms or whatever, and you support some kind of cause, or you guys give to some sort of charity or cause, or it's something that you care about and you donate your own time to, you can talk about that. And that also helps give the brand heart and give the brand identity. But yeah, you can also crowdsource stories from your customers. So you can talk to your customers. I really, really recommend talking to customers. If you can talk to your customers, you will learn so much. And it will open up so many doors for you. I can't even tell you. Something that they made us do when I was at 500 startups in Silicon Valley is talk to our customers. I can actually pick up the phone and talk to them. But you can use a customer story. Our customer had this problem. They used our product to solve it. They thought they had no other options, and then they found us, yada, yada, yada. But there's always a story to be crafted. You just have to get creative. There's always a story there waiting to be told.
Okay, so I see that some people were responding to your previous answers. Here, Eagle, I think the one which was saying that he failed with the first product, and he responded solid words after your encouragement. Vikram was giving a few questions for us, so he's thanking. And we still have a few more questions. Creative Edge is asking, they have a product without EBC and it already converts 17%. Will EBC improve it?
Yeah, 17's not bad, not terrible. It depends on the space, but yeah, if you don't have EBC at all, I'm confident that EBC will affect it. By how much, I don't know. It depends on the category and your avatar and the product itself. But I'm confident that it will affect it in some way. Will it be 3% more? Will it be 9% more? I don't know. But it's definitely worth it for you to create ABC. Just follow the formula that I lay out in the video that Augustus was talking about and implement it, and you will see some change. And remember, it's worth it. Like the time you spend on PPC to that listing, all the time you spend on optimizing PPC to that listing, you could have the same benefit without you doing that every single day by just one time focusing on uploading your EBC and then forever seeing the benefits of greater conversion rate. It's so worth it.
And in case she would like to consult with you, with your team, is it possible like that you look at the listing and you maybe commit to and you see maybe it's possible to increase and maybe she would like you to help?
Yeah, I'd be happy to take a look at it.
To look, yeah, sure. Let's see what Stacy says. Amazon's brand analytics has a demographics report, so this is where
and you'll get some limited data from that, but yeah, that is very helpful. I still recommend you speak to the customer though. You learn so much just talking to them. But yeah, that's good point.
Yeah, it's again Sean, data you find in customer analytics. Okay. Let's see. David launched a week ago doing SFB, search, find, buy is the strategy for running a campaign. And he's doing this next week for 2 weeks. How much time after that do you recommend to look at the listing to see if it worked?
Oh, okay. So once your search, find, buy campaign is done running, you should be hitting it. I mean, if you're already launching, then you need to run this whole launch protocol. You should be hitting it with PPC pretty heavily, especially for the keywords that you want to rank for. But what you should be doing is once the rebates turn off, then you should look at your conversion rate, because obviously now your conversion rate is skewed because a significant portion of the purchases are guaranteed because you're doing search, find, buy rebate campaign. So once that turns off, take a look at your conversion. And if your conversion looks somewhat low compared to the space, then you're going to want to take another look at your listing content and your EBC and start tweaking it. And also, about 30 days into running the PPC, you should download that search term report and use those keyword insights of the keywords that are converting the most, with the highest conversion, the lowest ACoS, and the most clicks. You should make sure that everything in the listing is pointing towards those keywords. This is, again, how listing content and PPC actually affect one another. So, yeah, that's what I would say to do.
And it looks like it's the final question. Do you provide EBC service for German language, German listings?
Yep, we do actually. We have a partner for this.
And can you do in other European languages? I mean, in other European, not all of them. So better they inquire you separately for each.
They should, yeah. German is the second biggest market, so we do German.
Mm-hmm. And once
like
more,
we won't do Japanese.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one more time. Yeah, you will find the link below in the description. You will also find the links to other videos we do with Chris, which are most of the time popular. David says thank you. Vikram said already before thank you. Thank you, Chris, and those who are still watching. Don't forget to click the subscribe button at the bottom and like button as well, so it helps us a lot. Let's see. One more question. How important is using video content on the listing or video ads?
Yeah, it's a really good question, actually. So it's not the most important element of the listing, actually, surprisingly. So the order of importance is really main image, title, then bullet points and EBC are like a tie for third, and then secondary images, and then video. So it is important and it can help with conversion, but it usually won't help more than a few points. I mean, in some cases it can have like a significant impact, but you're definitely talking single digit points in conversion. But all that being said, it is getting more and more important. And I don't know if you guys all get this, but Amazon sends out, at least to most sellers, video engagement views when you do have a video up. So they'll show you how many views your video has gotten over the past week, and you can cross-reference that with your session data to see what percentage of visitors are actually viewing the video, which is really helpful. Usually it's anywhere between 5 and 20% are watching the video. So it's not a majority of them. It's not even near half of them, but it is a significant percentage of them. And that percentage is has been trending up, we see. So yeah, it's not the first thing I would attack, but it does, just like every other piece of content on the listing, have a better ROI than nearly anything else you can spend money on in your business.
Mohammed, awesome. Thank you for watching.
Thanks, bro.
We're still getting questions. So Jess is asking, is a service only for new listings or listings which are not selling? Or is it for the listings not selling? What if it is already selling, but we want to push the results more? How can we judge how we can judge the service? Like probably how to evaluate before and after.
That's most. Most people who get content from Sophie Society are already selling and are just trying to increase the conversion and increase their sales. We do listings from scratch all the time as well, where we just create the entire thing soup to nuts: images, title, bullet points, EBC, video. We'll create the whole listing from scratch. But definitely a majority, more than half of sellers that come through and get professional content are just trying to up their game. They're trying to increase the sales, increase the conversion, increase the revenue of their existing ASINs. And yeah, the before and after, it's the same deal. On the intake, we actually measure all of the results, all of the metrics from your listing, and we record it in that data tracker that I showed you guys in the presentation. And then afterwards, part of our internal process, our account managers can't consider any job done until we've filled in the after metrics. So we do a trailing 14-day, a trailing 30-day average of after the content has been uploaded, so that we know what the difference in traffic and the difference in conversions was. So we actually follow up with you and we say, hey, we need your conversion and traffic data, because we put it into our data tracker so that we know what effect and ROI your content upgrade had.
All right, I think we're done. That's the last question. One more time, don't forget to click like and subscribe, and find all the links, and also visit the website by Chris, where you can see what he's offering. And yeah, I think if you have any questions, get in touch with Chris' team. What's the best way to get in touch with you if they have questions?
For questions, they could just email me with questions, chris@sophiesociety.com. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Chris, and see you in the next videos, and good luck in your business. Bye-bye.
Thanks, bro. Thanks, everybody.